Philadelphia was actually pretty prolific in innovating so many institutions that are still with us today. The university system, maternity wards, the first insurance company, the news media, even the first public pools. I'm Errin Haines, contributing editor for A More Perfect Union, which is a year-long series at the Philadelphia Inquirer that explores systemic racism through the institutions and inequality that was born in Philadelphia. I thought, what if in this city, through this newspaper, we kind of explored and unpacked systemic racism, thinking about how inequality was really right there from the start and what the impact of those institutions not just has been, but continues to be on Philadelphians and Americans living right now.
The most impactful story for me was probably the maternal health one. It was about inequities that Black women face in maternal care. What I didn't know was that Philadelphia created modern obstetrics at the first medical school at Penn. It led me to be able to uncover the story of a Black woman from the late 19th century named Josephine Scott. She did die in childbirth, and she never did bear a living child, but after her death, the doctor who had worked on her removed part of her anatomy, her pelvic bones, and it was written that they were put on display. We weren't able to track them down. Between the different institutions that were said to have had them, nobody was accountable for them even today.
One of the things I was interested in, doing this project was kind of thinking about how are institutions choosing what stories to tell and how does it benefit them? So I wrote about the University of Pennsylvania.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
And I wrote about how they basically said for many years that they didn't have any ties to slavery. And this was as other universities around the country were starting to uncover their own ties, and starting to kind of reckon with it. And Penn just said, nope, we're innocent. And in that story, I talked with the archivist at Penn at the time, and he talked me through some of kind of the thinking that went into how the institution chose which history to use. He said, I didn't want to look that hard in the archives because he felt like Penn didn't set up any kind of fact-finding commission. They didn't say, get to the bottom of this. They just said, hey, are there ties? He also didn't want it to result in reparations because he felt like political issues shouldn't affect how we look at history. Mm-hmm. So he basically said, as far as we know, but really we don't know.
So he was really reckoning with his own role within this institution, and to help, that helped really kind of perpetuate this inequality.
Yeah, I think he was thinking through it, and a group of students started digging into it, and they found a number of ties between Penn and the institution of slavery.
The point of investigating trauma like this isn't just to say that harm happened, but to show how we can heal and to show that even within that there is resistance, even within that trauma there's imagination, there's spirit. So on a couple of these chapters, we're looking at the flag and all of the ways that the American flag and all of its permutations can be a source of discomfort for Black Americans because of the way that it's used. Getting Kimberly McGlone from Grand Boulevard to reimagine the flag as something that we'd be proud to wear. That piece was interesting because I did get some feedback from people that may have missed that message saying like, oh, you really think that redesigning the flag is going to fix racism? And I'm like, that's not what we're trying to say here.
Yeah, no.
The point of it is to communicate how we would like these American icons to make us feel, because they aren't doing that right now.
During 2020, when there were these huge protests over the killing of George Floyd, there was this kind of feeling in the air, sense in the air. We can see that things are wrong and unequal, but sort of like, how did we end up here?
I don't want this to be a year of white guilt of people just saying like, oh, we did bad in the past, we did bad in the past, right? Those decisions in the past echo today. And even if the individuals change, the systems that were created before still disproportionately affect people of color.
Philadelphia loves to focus on its past, on its foundations, right? The story that we tell ourselves, to ourselves, and also to America. But there are people for whom the Declaration still has not reached its full potential. What does it mean to really think about who the framers of our democracy can be now? We're really still only at the beginning of this work. We're certainly still at the beginning of the reckoning that started in 2020, and it is up to all of us to bring about the more perfect union that our founders envisioned.